Hey, cunts, don't forget to click the subscribe button.
Please be seated. By the way, that's Jason Nagy. That's how he contemplates in Adelaide, in a lake. Because he says poorness and dipshitness rubs off. And I was reading another email this morning. We haven't talked too much about default yet. We're going to spend a great deal of time talking about default. And the default is the rest of your other life when you go back, because I won't say nothing, but almost nothing that has to do with your other life being pre-QLA or other than QLA, has anything to do with creating generational wealth. I say almost nothing, but it's really nothing. But I only say almost nothing because there may be some little sliver of your life that is conducive to being a super high performance person. A couple of you could be you've deemed yourself as high performance. Now, you deemed yourself as high performance before you saw what the benchmarks of high performance were when you got here. Virtually nobody deems themselves a high performance person after they leave here until they become high performance. Because there's a big difference between flapping your lips about, it's like when somebody's going to fight Tyson. I was at the fight when Tyson won the world championship the first time in 86 or 85, whenever that was. I was at that fight. And of course the guy that was flapping his lips, you knew that Tyson was going to win because you saw fear in the guy's eyes. I was in the third row. Fourth row behind me was Robert De Niro, Danny DeVito, and a couple other guys. And they're all this tall. They could all stand under my armpit. Okay? But when Tyson was hitting this guy, I'm in the third row. With such velocity, the perspiration off the guy's head was like stinging hail in my face. That's what it felt like. So you can just imagine from the punch that hit the guy's head to when the perspiration left his skull, and it's slowing down, right? And the third row is about from here to here, the ring. You're the ring right there. And it still felt like stinging hail. So I can't imagine what the guy's head felt like. But even before that happened, you know how they talk trash before, and now they even talk more trash. And the mixed martial arts guys talk even more than boxers now. So now you have some idea of what high performance means, and you'll have a better idea. And especially when we go through goals and affirmations. There's only one goal of one person in this room is worth keeping. One out of one of you is worth keeping going forward, in this guy's opinion. And for most people, I just say add 3 to 10 zeros, if it's a money number, 3 to 10 zeros. Well, 3 zeros, that means you probably had goals in the hundreds of millions. But for most people that, they want 10 million, 5 million, 25 million, you add 10 zeros. And when we talk about goals, we're going to talk about goals in terms of not revenue numbers. We're going to talk goals in equity numbers that you would have, or a book value in a company. Those are the numbers. So last night, one of my favorites, Nick, arguably the greatest tennis coach of all time, can't play tennis. Now, this is really, I should just stop the seminar now. I'm going to say it again real slow for the Goombas, for the Pole meatheads, for the Bulgarian bullshitters, for the greatest tennis coach of all motherfucking time, with 180 or 190, now he's got 190 some championships under his belt, and he can't play fucking tennis. Pardon? Yeah. And not you, but since you're here, you all want to know why. right? You spent most of your lives looking for the why, the big question mark. Now, we've got, I mentioned it last night over cocktails, a couple of the kids now in YouTube, and they're not really a good benchmark of intelligence, and they're not really a good benchmark of anything. But every once in a while, they say something that amuses me. And I told you last night, now I've got Parkinson's disease. I got Parkinson's disease. The other morning when I had a rash here, they ascertained that I was drinking blood. And I have drank blood. Yeah, that's no bullshit. Well, I will neither confirm nor deny that I had a breakout from, because every once in a while you get a bad blood sample. Bad blood. Even though they filter, they do all this shit. Every once in a while, some little corona bug or something gets through. And so I had a breakout. I'm sure it was noticeable. But oh boy, the YouTubers were on it. So he's got cancer of the mouth. I mean, and it's good for a chuckle, just like we're trying. You know, if I want to laugh, I go back and I look at YouTube and some of these guys that are obviously he's an internist of some medicine or some. I'm being sarcastic. So Nick didn't, and I tried to get Nick here. About 2.5 years ago, I got him on the phone, not dissimilar to W. Clement Stone, when I tried to do something with him back in the early 2000s before he died. And Nick's old. I'm not suggesting he's going to die or anything, but he's a cantankerous old bastard. And we were going to set up an appointment at the U.S. Tennis Open in New York City, and I was going to meet him. And but he doesn't know. He doesn't know those mechanics. He doesn't know. And he certainly hasn't ever won anything. Why is it you want to know? By the way, the tapes aren't coming back clearly because you're forgetting to push the fucking button on the mic. And so when the camera goes and the question, and then it just looks like you're moving your lips and no words are coming out. So remember to hit the fucking button when you use the mic. But why is it so important? Not just to you, but to the people they want to know. They want to know, they want to drill down. They want to know, they want to drill down, but yet 93 or 94%, and may have changed, of the people that use Google, and I do, Google, never get past the first page. So how much do you really want to know? Now we're going to discuss some stuff tomorrow that's on Google, legitimately, but it's on the 5th, 8th, 11th, 12th, 14th page of the individual. Like one of the things that I highly recommend is that, remember, you're going to ask the potential board member, is there anything in your background, blah, 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 that could, be detrimental to future finance? And one of you has got a guy that has a sex, whatever it was. Well, they're now trying to throw out a guy on the Tory party who was accused of rape, and Boris isn't throwing him out. That's all the details are. I don't know any more details. But in today's day and age, and this isn't from 25 years ago, this isn't even from 25 months ago, it's from the last, 6 or 8 or 10 months. I mean, I would question if I was talking to Boris. I mean, just put him aside for right now until you find out. But to say you're not going to do anything in this day and age, either Boris knows this guy's absolutely categorically fucking innocent, which you never know for sure. But we're going to show you, when you're talking about potential board members, Dan Peña, lawsuits, in quotes. And then it'll pull shit up from page 26, 30, whatever. But Nick, who can't even remember his 8 wives, I think he has 8 wives, or had 8 wives, and does he care that he doesn't remember his 8 wives? No. He's the antithesis almost of, if we had an average person that comes to the seminar, and there are no average because you're all different, but if there was an average, he's the opposite, 180 degrees. And he's the most successful tennis coach of all time. So what does that make you? Or more importantly, where does that put you? Remember I told you don't have to know anything. One of the little clips I have on YouTube is you don't have to know anything to be a billionaire. Now, the title is to catch people's attention because it's not exactly 100% accurate. You got to know something, but almost nothing. Yet you want to know everything. You've heard the people talk, and so far, how much time did you put in researching where you want to do vis-a-vis QLA? Nothing, 15 minutes. Mr. Peña said so, Mr. Peña said so, Mr. Peña said so, that's it. Right? But you in this fucking room, I will bet my fucking dick, are going to do, at least some of you, a lot of research. And you can equate the more research you do with your insecurity. You can equate the more research you do with your lack of self-esteem. You can equate the more research you do with your lack of self-confidence. Some of you have already done research. Now, back in the 90s, I used to pull it out of you and make you cry, and why'd you do research? Oh, because I'm just a cunt, Dan. I'm just a fucking guy. But I don't do that now. You can tell how much kinder and gentler I am now. I don't want to, Plus, I started getting your cleaning bills for the tears on your shirt and shit like that. And then you asked, I didn't even know we did laundry here till yesterday. I did not know that we do laundry for you assholes if you ask us. Till yesterday. How long have I been giving this motherfucking seminar? And you know who asked for laundry the most? The fucking Germans. And they treat the staff like shit. I'm telling you, they want another war. Believe me. Okay, what are the takeaways about Nick? Other than I want you to know, I personally talked to him. I personally talked to his right-hand person, blah, 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 blah. And he's more cantankerous in person on the phone than he was on that video. Yes, sir. But the button.
He was loyal to no one but just success. That's the only thing he was loyal to.
There's only one byproduct for any kind of a relationship whatsoever with Nick, and that's winning. I.e., he wanted to surround himself by definition, and I don't even think the brief conversations I've had with him, he didn't even look at it that way. If I'm not here to teach you how to win, what am I here to do? Yes, sir.
He didn't know what he was doing, but he just did it.
Correct. I did in 4 words what would be a volume of books, just fucking do it. Yes, sir.
No days off.
Pardon?
No days off.
No days off. That's, when I came here in 1981, and they were just pushing for to go to a 37.5-hour work week in 81. They were just pushing that. And now, I don't know what the EU standards are, but... And at that time, I was probably working 80, because work is when you don't like what you do. I never considered any of the things I did as work. My mother used to say, God rest her soul, why do you work so hard, Danny? You've already got this, that, because I had a lot of toys and stuff. Because it's not work, Mom. It's not work. No days off. But when I came here and they were pushing for the work week, I said, oh, this is going to be a fucking piece of cake. I'm going to take it from these Europeans like taking money from a baby. It was one of the most understatements I ever made. And now they even want to work less, or they want to keep less hours, whether they work. And it was announced about 6 weeks ago, and I might have mentioned it the first day, that the United States is going to lose about $25 billion a month because of Corona in revenue, GDP. And I said that they're going to lose between 5 and 10 billion additional over the 25 because of lack of productivity. Because if you think that you're 114 or 180 or 60 virtual employees that you will now have, if you're these big companies that aren't going to have you come back to the office, are going to be anywhere near as productive, you're crazy. I asked my two our children, were managers that aren't supposed to come back to work till January, and that manage people. They said, Dad, I don't know what these people are thinking when they think they're going to be as productive or even remotely as productive. They show adverts here on the telly where a guy is trying to do something on his laptop. He's wearing boxer shorts. Of course, he's in a Zoom meeting. A shirt with a tie, boxer shorts. His 5-year-old is pulling at his microphone or whatever, and his dog is chewing his slippers. Now, I know why they're doing the advert, because they're trying to make you feel better. But in no way, how can that equate to more productivity? Then they got another advert where the guy's got 3 little girls, cute as anything. One girl comes from behind and pushes her father into the computer laptop. And the other 2 sisters, I assume they're her sisters, are doing all kind of shit. And, why, are you so stupid that you think you're going to be as productive? Now, for those of us that have worked from home a long, long time, I'm more productive if I don't have to travel. But even when I traveled, I did work in my limo. Most of you, not yet, don't have the luxury of going to work in a limo. I've got 4 or 5 Hall of Famers that have just acquired limos or in drivers in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and they say, God almighty, I don't know how I ever existed without a limo and working in the back. What else about Nick? Yes, sir, in the back.
So love doesn't work, and he didn't want to be loved. He wanted results.
When we were in China in 2008 and 9, and we're in a Chinese limo. Chinese limo are like little cars but stretched. And our youngest son is in the back with 2 sons of the deputy chairman of Hunan Province Communist Party. And I had minders. I told the Chinese kid I had minders where they had people that tell me what to say and what I couldn't say. I didn't pay much attention to them, but I had minders. They were nice kids. Of course, our son had went to University of Shanghai, speaks fluent Mandarin, or did. And he says the bitches are the characters, Dad. The characters. And he had to practice characters, writing those things, but I hear him, they break from Chinese to English, and I hear, and he says, no, Dad doesn't, and I guess he didn't know how to say this in Chinese or Mandarin. Dad doesn't want us to love him. And so then I looked up, and I turned around, and I know what he's telling them. Our Father wants us to respect him 20 years after we leave home. Love has nothing to do with it. And that's true. I would rather my kids hate me and be super successful, high performance, than ever love me. Which is just the antithesis of how you've been raised, right? And in Asian families, he is the pension plan. You're supposed to get rich and be successful to support your parents. That's the Asian 401k in America. That's the Asian pension plan, retirement plan, your kids. In the old days, caveman days, when your parents' teeth fell out, you chewed the food and gave it to them because they couldn't chew the food. So now we're down to you've got to work the rest of your life, and that's why they stress grades so much, and that's why 60% of the influx of students in America now are Asian, not just China. But love. If love got the job done, and if love got the job done, you wouldn't be here. If religion got the job done, you wouldn't be here. Now, who are the most religious people on the planet normally? The poorest. Because that's all they have. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
It's a mental game. So he drilled the kids for success.
We had a kid here about a year and a half ago who went to one of Nick's camps. He was there. He was a young kid from, I think, Argentina, someplace in South America. And he was considered a world a ranked athlete as a 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old. And that's where, if you've got money, you send your kids, of course now it's not just tennis, but it's golf, and they bought the Dave Ledbetter School. And he started crying. He was sitting back and forth, you could see him crying when we were talking about Nick and the comments they had about Nick. And then finally I said, and I knew he was at the Nick school. Nobody else. And I said, well, what would you add to what these guys are saying? And so he wipes his eyes. He said, it's 1,000 times worse than that. It's 1,000 times worse. And the competition is so fierce at the schools. I mean, it's vicious to get a pat on the head from Nick. Just a pat on the head. And he says he does it, he's like a conductor at the Philharmonic Orchestra. He knows exactly what to do, when to do it, to pull the very best out of us. And he doesn't give a shit, as he evidenced by when he cut loose the kid Agassi. But that's the real world. Now, I'm not that tough. I would have gone, flown, sat down with Agassi over a drink or to tell him that you're out. Just as the Viking bitch didn't want to let go of the CFO. And she hesitated and she hemmed and she hawed and she went through it, right? Some of you would still be trying to find the right words. How many times have you heard that before? Is this a good time? When anybody asks me that, if I hang up. If you're so insecure that you've got to ask me if this is a good time to talk, click. We got nothing to talk about. Everybody in this room has used that phrase. Everybody in this room has not only used that phrase, has heard that phrase back to them, right? Why are they telling you, is this a good time? Because they're setting themselves up in case it's not a good time, so they don't feel bad. They're also setting it up so you don't feel bad. Who gives a fuck? There's never a good time to make a hard decision. Never. It's not going to get any better next week, tomorrow, this afternoon. Many in this room have been taught, well, keep your head down and maybe it'll pass. I used to think when I first went to England, London 81, that the English invented that. But they didn't. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
He scarred those people, those children for life, but he knew it was necessary to make the few he chose succeed.
Now, everybody that goes to this camp, I'm told, even by the kid that was one of the attendees, is a significantly better player when they leave. But not everybody has the raw talent. See, what you haven't been told, when I was growing up, not in my neighborhood, you can be anything you want in life, they tell kids. That is the biggest fucking lie. You can't be anything else, anything you want in life. If you want to be prime minister in this country, and this is a Trump exaggeration, you had to have gone to Harrow or Eton and Oxford or Cambridge, basically. And then they have also RANs, other schools, University of Edinburgh, St. Andrews University. Our Etonian that we had here a few years ago, they teach you how to be an elitist. And guess what? It works. I'm not saying what they teach isn't 200 years behind the time. Nick is a classic example of a super high performance person that has only one desire, one wish, one focus, and that is winners. And his self-worth is based on the number of winners that he produces. We have kids in the Hall of Fame. Their self-worth is based on the number of zeros that they've put onto transactions, completed transactions. my, not self-worth, but an estimation of myself is how many of you I can drag across the line. And in the other room that we can't see, there's a painting that one of you gave me of me, and they're in a net, and I've got an Asian kid, a black kid, and a white kid, and they're in a net, and I'm pulling them across the goal line, like this. And I think it's online as well. And Sally contends the reason why my back is so fucking sore and arthritic is because of pulling you guys across the line for the last 27 years. I don't think there's any truth in that, but it makes a good story. But it's hard work. And if I went out of my way to even think for a moment what you thought about me as a person, fuck, I never get anything done. Because maybe I'm not the only guy, Nick, I really don't care what you think about me. With all my heart, I mean that. And if you don't produce numbers, I'm not interested in you. I mean that with all my heart. Yet, notwithstanding most of the guys don't tell anybody that I'm the reason that they're rich, I know why they're rich. And you know that I know why you're rich. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. I'll stand on my record. But he is not dissimilar to all the world-class coaches that I've had the privilege of being around. Now, so far, you've seen 3 people, right? And they're all pretty much pricks. Right? And then there's you. That wants to be liked. One is a pleaser. And a lot of bad things have been written about Nick. His style. They said his style was outdated in the 60s and 70s. And then they said his style was outdated in the 70s and 80s. And then they said his style was too ruthless. But he keeps producing these world champions. Because he's not interested in what everybody else says. All he knows is he's adding numbers. Now, the next most successful coaches, tennis, have dozens of champions, not 180 or 90. So on the face of it, what does that tell you? He's doing something right. People ask me, not so much not since Corona started, but before that, why do I continue to be so hard on everybody? Well, it fucking works. I wouldn't do it if it didn't work. I continue to be hard, and by hard meaning high standards. That's how you define me being hard. When you fuck up, when the Dutch whiz kids say, "What are you, fucking stupid? Remember what you told me in my fucking office, you fucking little twig?" And I remember every fucking word you tell me. I remember every fucking word you write. Every word. I don't have a photographic memory, but I got close to a photographic memory. And I remind Dan Locke, I remind Brian Rose, I remind whoever what they said 3 years ago, 2 years ago. What he told me I don't have lunches, at a dinner. I said, well, what happened between now and then? And I hold people accountable in our personal relationships. You've been taught to have unconditional love, haven't you? If unconditional love worked, you wouldn't be here. Anything else about Nick? Okay, thank you.